Hello class. In this session we're going to talk about Oracle Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is basically the joins. Okay. So, once again, if you don't have the set of slides, go ahead and pause the recording for a moment and get a printout of the slides. And what you may also want to do is get your Oracle book in front of you handy and open it up to page 111. I probably will go over the set of slides first and then run through the book quickly and highlight the important points. So, what will we cover in this chapter? The concept of the joins, the different kinds of joins, the concepts of table and column aliases and comments. Okay, so what is the join? The join is a very important concept in relational databases. Okay, so far you were trying to extract information from a table. So like you had a student table or a coursework table or a prerequisite table, and you're trying to get information out of the table. When you want to get information out of more than one table, you do a join. And that's going to be pretty much most of the time when you work on SQL. Okay, you are going to have to get information which is in more than one table, and so you're going to have to do a join. So when you do a join, what you do is you look for the primary key on one table, and it should be the foreign key in another table. So a join is typically done by a primary key, foreign key kind of relation. Okay. The Cartesian product. This is really the simplest kind of join, and it's on page 112 of your book, but it's a join condition which joins everything in an everything kind of fashion. So you really get erroneous results. Most of the time this is not the product that you're looking for, most of the time. Okay, so the join. When we have information that is partly in Table A and partly in Table B, we have to join Table A and Table B on some common field, and that's the join. Okay. So what is an equijoin? A join operation where two columns have equal values. And most of our joins, when you have a primary key equaling a foreign key, most of our joins will be in that fashion, where we're going to have a primary key of Table A, say for example, join with a foreign key in Table B. What's a table alias? Table alias is a temporary name for a table. It's not a synonym. A synonym is a permanent name. Okay. If you created a synonym, like for example, most of us created the synonym in exercise, in the exercises for Chapter 1, and you're going to be using these synonyms for the rest of the semester. But you're not going to do that with a table alias. A table alias is a temporary name, and it's really used just in that table. Okay, if you turn to your book and say, for example, look at page 118 of your book. On the first query up on the top of the page, it says select star from ME, jobs J. E is the table alias for EMS, J is the table alias for jobs, and then where you have where E.jobcode equal J.jobcode. So instead of saying EMS.jobcode equal J.jobs.jobcode, you just say E.jobcode equal J.jobcode, and that's the table alias. But the E does not exist after you have hit the enter key and run that query. Okay, that's as far as the E will exist. That's as long as the E will stay. After that, the E is gone, the J is gone. So table alias is only temporary for the table, but at the same time, it does help as your number of tables increase and the table names get bigger, and etc. And usually, table aliases, in Oracle are not very fancy. They're, one or just 2 or 3 letters, to keep things simple because it's not anything permanent. So that's what a table alias is. Okay, comments. I'm on slide 8. I've showed you how to do different kinds of comments. You'd use the double dashes, or you'd use the slash with an asterisk, and then you would, if you use a slash with an asterisk, you have to do a closing asterisk slash, and that's comment. Slide 9, you have a column alias, and what is a column alias? It's the same kind of idea on a column alias where, it's a temporary name. It's not permanent, it's temporarily stored and used for that column. If you turn to page 124 of your book now, okay, rather 123 maybe, start with 123. There's a query down at the bottom of 123, and the result of that's presented on the top of page 124. Notice the G for grade. The whole grade does not show, okay? So to show the grade, we would need to use a column alias. And that's what we have talked about on page 124 and 125 of your book. So rather than have G, you would have a descriptive column name, and so that's what a column alias is. Again, the column alias is only valid for that query, and after the query, it's gone. Okay, so the aliases are temporary, synonyms are permanent. Okay, now we've got slide 10. We talk about the count and the row num functions. The count will actually count the number of rows, which actually the reason we introduce count here is because sometimes as you do the joins, you come up with a tremendous amount of rows. And you may not want to display or print out all your output before you check how many rows you have. The row num is used to, like for example, if you want to display only 6 rows, or, like I think we've already used this maybe in the first chapter where we said row num less than 5, I think in one place. So that would display the first 4 rows. So that's what the row num does. Okay, the different kinds of joins. I'm on slide 11. You've got the inner join, you've got a self join, you've got an outer join. And the outer joins, there are 3 different kinds of outer joins. You've got the left outer join, the right outer join, and the full outer join. Okay, so we're going to start off by talking about the inner join. The inner join is the most common form of join, and that's the one that you're going to be using most often, and so that's what's called the inner join. Okay, it's often termed also as a regular join. Okay, and so going on to the next slide, the inner join, the forms of the inner join are using the where clause. So for example, if you turn back to your book, that's why I said keep your book handy too. If you turn back to your book, page 112 and 113 explain the Cartesian product. And then page 114, where you have in kind of the middle of the page, you've got select star from ems, jobs, where ems.jobcode equals jobs.jobcode. That is an example of an inner join. If you look at page 115, you are explicitly using the inner join. You said select star from ems, inner join jobs equal ems.jobcode equals jobs.jobcode. That is also an example of an inner join. There are really 2 ways of doing the inner join. Using the where clause is really the older method, but it's still the most commonly used method. And the newer method, the ANSI join syntax, is the join form where you use the words inner join. But the thing about this is that, this is a newer syntax. It's used a lot, but people still are using the where syntax a lot. And I'm not going to really call it wrong if you use where. It doesn't matter if you use where or inner join. They're both going to be the same for me because actually, I think actually people who program a lot still use the where. Okay, so self-join. I know you think this is kind of funny. What is a self-join? I just told you that the definition of a join is where you join, say, one table to another, so it would be like you're joining table A to join table B. So what is a self-join? A self-join is when you need to join a table to itself. That's a self-join. For example, if I have a table where I have, for example, our student table. You've got, you've got in there an attribute called class. If you take a moment to look at the student table, okay, you see that there's an attribute called class, and class has, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. What if I want to find all the people who are less than junior? Okay. What I would have to do is kind of join the table to itself. Okay. So I'm trying to find all the people who are junior and then who are less than them, but it's all from the same table. Okay. That's when you would use a self-join. So basically the idea of the self-join is when you need to join the tables or get the results from a join, but the information that you need is all found in the same table. Okay. You're not going to find it with a regular, maybe just a where, just where you're trying to find something, but you're going to have to kind of join the table to itself. That's a self-join. Then we talk about outer joins. What are outer joins? Okay. Inner join is when it's only going, now I'm talking about inner join now, not outer join, but I need to explain inner join before I get to outer join. So I'm going to re-explain inner join. Inner join is when you get a join result only when something equals something. Only when I can say, attribute A in table A is equal to attribute A in table B. I mean, that's the only time you get the result of an inner join. Okay. Maybe just to explain this a little further before we even get into the concept of outer joins, let's run through the book a little fast, or rather just a little. And go back to page 112. I'm going to kind of review what we went over in the slides. We start off with the Cartesian product. So if you look at the middle of page 113, you have select star from M's, jobs. That is a Cartesian product. There is no where clause. And look at the output. Everything is joined with everything. I turn over the page 114, select star from M's, jobs, where job code equals job code. So only join where the job code of M's is equal to the job C of jobs. Only join at that point. So you look at the result in 114, at the bottom of 114, and you get much fewer rows than you had on 113. So that's the where clause, an equijoin where you join only when something is equal to something. And that's the regular join. I mean, only join when a certain condition is present. That's an inner join. Okay, I'm turning pages and I'm on page 121. I've shown you a whole bunch of examples of equijoins. We've got a select star from student, grade report on the first query on page 121, where student number equals student number. So only join where the student number is equal to student number. And if the student number is not equal, you're not going to join. Okay. And coming down a little further, you've got two conditions where student number is equal to student number and section ID is equal to section ID. Okay. So, these are regular joins. And then we get into talking about, let's look at page 123. I've made the join a little bigger. Notice I've got a select S name, grade, class from, you've got an inner join and then you have another inner join and then you have a whole bunch of other conditions. So you're doing a whole bunch of joins here. Well, the next couple pages talk about column aliases. Page 126 talks a little bit about scripting. And the reason I bring this in here is because your queries are going to get larger and you're going to have to write a bit more, so it may be to your benefit to use an editor. But the one thing I want to highlight on page 126 is when you use, or rather before you use the editor, you need to type in define_editor equals yi, or whatever your editor may be. So if you look at the middle of page 126, number 1, it says, I'm on the middle of page 126, number 1, on the SQL prompt it says define_editor equals vi. So I've defined my vi editor, I type edit run, it opens up the screen, and then I type in whatever I've got to type in. Okay, so the main thing I'm trying to stress is make sure you define your editor. That's the part that usually people will forget, and the screen will come back totally screwed up. Okay, so then you'll type everything that you've typed in. I'm on page 127 of the book, number 4. You type escape. Now in the VI screen, anything you need to do, you've got to hit escape. Okay, if you want to change modes, you've always got to hit escape. So you hit escape and then :WQ to write and quit. And then on number 5, I'll show you how to run that. Okay. Page 128, we talk about the count in the row num. 129, more examples of count. So that gives you a little bit of idea of what an inner join is. Okay, now we come to the story of outer joins. So what is an outer join? An outer join is if I want to do the regular join. So say for example I have table A and table B. I'm asking you to join only when the primary key of table A is equal to the key in table B. If it's not equal, I don't want the output. I only want the output when I want to join it. I only want the join output. That is the regular join, the inner join. But if I want to do the output of table A and table B, but I want the information from table A anyway, I have an outer join. Let's take an example. If I want to find all the people who are math majors and computer science majors, so I'm finding all people who are all the students who are math and computer science majors. Math and computer science majors, I'm doing a join, a regular join. If I want to find all the people who are math and computer science majors, but I also want the group of math people anyway. So I want the people who are math and computer science majors and the math people anyway. I'm doing an outer join. And if I want the math people and the computer science people and the math group is the first group, and I want the math people and the computer science people and I want the math people anyway, I'm doing a left outer join because I'm taking the first table. And if I want the math people and the computer science people and I want the join of them and only the computer, and in addition the computer science people, then I'm doing a right outer join because I'm taking the second table. So an outer join is the inner join plus the first set, which would be the left outer join, or the inner join plus the second set, which would be the right outer join. And if I want the intersection of the two, which is, both, the math people and the computer science people, the math majors and the people who are math and computer science majors and the people who are math and computer science, I want the whole group added in anyway too. That would be a full outer join. So those are the concepts here. So here's the left outer join. I'm on slide 16, which says give me the join result plus the left set. That is the left outer join. The right outer join is give me the join result plus the right set, and that is the right outer join. And the full outer join is give me the join result plus the left set, the full outer join plus the left set and the right set, and that is the full outer join. So that gives you an idea of what the joins are, and this basically has the definitions over again of what an inner join is, left outer join, right outer join, and that basically is a summary of the chapter. And in the book, I go into a little bit more detail, of course, on page 130 and 131. I've explained how you can use a plus sign and how that's used in Oracle. Again, the left outer join, the right outer join, up until a couple versions back, Oracle didn't even have the words left outer join and right outer join. Those are newer ANSI syntax, but Oracle had the concept from way back. If you look at page 132 on top of the page, if you look at the query, there's a plus sign right after job C. Okay, that was what was used in Oracle to do the outer join. And that syntax has been around for a long time. And so if you see that syntax, you know that is an outer join, and in this case, it is a left outer join. In the left outer join with the plus sign, you put the plus sign on the right side. Okay. So and you can go ahead and read about this and the outer join condition. The reason I want you to know about the plus sign is because there is still a lot of Oracle code hanging around using the plus sign. So, if you go out to work and you know about full outer joins and right outer joins and left outer joins, but you never saw the plus sign, and you encounter it and you're like, if you think you look strangely at it, rather I'm trying to make it smoother out. So even if you see code that is written that's older, that's written with the plus sign, it's still valid. Okay, you have to still be able to understand it. Okay, it still runs. And actually, again, like I said, I mean, a lot of programmers that program a lot still use the plus sign. I mean, it's still correct. It still can be syntactically used, and it's just whatever you're comfortable with. And for my set of exercises, whether you use the plus sign or the right outer join or full outer join, I mean, when I didn't give you a choice of what to use, when I didn't specifically tell you, it's really whatever you want to use. Okay. And I've even gone into a little bit more into detail on page 133. I said handling full outer joins and how the end condition, I'm on page 135 now, how the end condition behaves with the outer joins. It behaves a little differently. And then I talked about chaining outer joins. So read that. It really, I mean, what I've done in this edition of the book is I really have, beat up on the joins chapter. I've really explained it and really put a lot of stuff into it. So when you get out into the world and you start using Oracle, you should know all these different things and how it behaves. And join, although it's a very simple concept, it's a really interesting concept and a very fundamental concept, because unless you understand joins, you have understood nothing in relational algebra or relational databases. Okay, it's a very fundamental concept, and when you use a left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, when it's going to be a self join, when it's going to be an inner join, outer join, I mean, your boss is not going to come by and say, well, use an outer join here. Okay. You have to understand that now it's time to use a left outer join. Now it's time to use a right outer join. Well, this is going to give me the output if I use a regular join or whatever. I mean, you have learned these techniques, and it's going to be really up to you to go out and use them at the appropriate time. Okay. So it's a very interesting chapter, and actually as I was writing this chapter out this time and updating it, I really had a lot of fun writing it, because I tried to put in everything that I thought that you should know, as you go out into the world with Oracle knowledge. Okay, with this I'm going to end this session, and and I'm going to ask you to just go ahead and get started working on Oracle Chapter 3. It is extremely advisable that you read the chapter, do the chapter, go over the chapter by reading and doing it before you get to the exercises. You are not going to do so well in the exercises unless you've gone over the chapters systematically. That's how the book is written. It's very self-explicit, and I have a lot of good reviews of the book. So it really works, but it works if you do it in the right order. So please, I cannot emphasize any more than this, but I cannot re-emphasize and emphasize this anymore. Please do the chapter before you get to the end of the chapter exercises. And if you do it in that form, there is no reason that you should do poorly in them. Okay, with this I'm going to end the session and let you get started working. Bye.